The situation in the Ukraine conflict remains tense. Moscow has transferred soldiers to Belarus. Britain, meanwhile, has decided to support Ukraine with light defensive anti-tank weapons. So, Britain is supplying arms to Ukraine amid fears of a Russian attack on Ukraine. We have decided to supply Ukraine with light defensive anti-tank weapons, British Defence Secretary Ben Wallace told Parliament on Monday evening. The first units have already arrived in Ukraine. During a visit to Madrid, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called for Russia to take clear steps to de-escalate the situation. Military aggression against Ukraine will have serious political and economic consequences. And in Kiev, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock agreed with her Ukrainian colleague Dmytro Kuleba to try to revive negotiations in the so-called Normandy format. She was scheduled to meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on Tuesday, right after I filmed this. Wallace said in Parliament that a small number of British Army personnel should train Ukrainian personnel on the weapon systems for what they call a short period. The minister did not provide any information on the type or number of weapons supplied. All he said was that they are not strategic weapons and they pose no threat to Russia. They are intended for self-defense. The weapons would only have a short range, and then this would fit. During his first visit to Spain, Scholz expressed his concern about the concentration of Russian troops in front of the Ukrainian border. And as I said, Russia will pay a high price if it takes military action against the neighboring country, he warned. One should not overlook the troop movements. They are massive and a threat to Ukraine's sovereignty. And the German newspaper Handelsblatt, citing government circles, reported that talks between Europe and the United States were aimed at sanctions against major Russian banks. In German government circles, however, it was denied that the idea of disconnecting Russian banks from the SWIFT payment system and thus from global financial flows was off the table. According to the report, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due to visit Europe later this week because of the possible sanctions. On Thursday, he was in Berlin. He's supposed to be in Berlin and wanted to meet Scholz. And there you heard how we say it in German. Relations between Russia and the West are at a low point. Russia has massed around 100,000 soldiers on the border with Ukraine, and soldiers are also being transferred to Belarus. The West fears an invasion, which the government in Moscow denies. Instead, Russia is concerned with a smokescreen of security guarantees. Among other things, the government in Moscow is demanding a commitment from NATO that Ukraine will not be included in the military alliance. But what was about sovereignty? And that's why the alliance rejects this. The West in turn is demanding an immediate withdrawal of Russian troops from the border area. Diplomacy is the only viable way to defuse the currently highly dangerous situation, said Baerbock in Kiev. The Normandy format must get going again. It includes Germany, Ukraine, France and Russia. In 2015, the four states agreed on the so-called Minsk Agreement, which is intended to bring peace to eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian army and pro-Russian separatists have been facing each other over there for years. Baerbock announced that she would also speak to Lavrov about new talks in this composition. Kuleba suggested organizing a meeting at foreign minister level soon. Western states are also concerned because Russia has already taken action against Ukraine and annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. In addition, Russia has recently tightened the pitch. Russia's deputy foreign minister Sergei Ryabkov said on Thursday that since talks with the West were not progressing, Russia would now use other means and techniques. We will see what they mean by that. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.